Hi, this is Luis Souza from rawveganpower.com, and I'm really excited to have here today a couple who I find to be really heroes, because they had a prostate cancer situation in their family and they solved it. I'm really, really honored to have them here because I think people like these are like heroes. when you when you have a cancer as something that shouldn't be cured because traditional medicine says so, and we have them here saying otherwise. Welcome, Athena and Ray Blue. I'm really, really honored to have you here today. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming here today.
You're very welcome, Louie.
And thank you.
Well, we are going through your story here because it's really I'm emotional to talk to you about this. Usually, I would ask you your whole story. You tell me in just some sentences, but we are going through all your history because I think it's something that other people should know about it. And I'm sure that people who are watching us now are really interested. So tell us, please, how did it happen? When were you diagnosed with prostate cancer, Ray?
Okay. I was diagnosed the first time in 2009. And at that time, it was at stage 4. My PSA was, I want to say, 4,400 at that time. And we went to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and got our diagnosis. And they said that there was not a whole lot they could do, but they could treat it. But we did meet a naturopath who suggested a number of vitamins and supplements that we could use that would perhaps help us. Uh,
Right,
Never having the experience before, we knew what the traditional methods were, and we were not satisfied with those. And so we were willing to give the supplements and the vitamins a chance, a shot. And so what we did was we went on the vitamin supplement. This was in April of 2009. By
okay.
going on that particular program, and
Just,
also,
just a second, Ray. What would be the symptoms that you felt before the
uh,
diagnosis?
I had to, the symptom that I felt was having to go to the bathroom a lot, not being able to empty my bladder. At that time, there was not a lot of pain associated with it because I had not stopped any of my activities at that time. And so I didn't understand what was going on because when I first went to the doctor, we went to Emory, and they said basically that there was nothing that they could do. It had, you know,
Going outside the
it
prostate.
had gone outside of the prostate, and that's why we went to Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
I see.
And what they said was that they could do some traditional things to treat it, and we wanted to see what alternatives were out there.
Yes, and the traditional methods were palliative. They said it's nothing they could do. Once outside the prostate, there's no cure. So the palliative stuff was just stuff, just basically to see if it'll work. Comfort measures, to reduce pain, and that was about it. That's the hope they gave us.
The reason for that was because the cancer was outside the prostate.
Outside the prostate and throughout the body.
I see what you mean. Okay. And then you went to that naturopath.
Yes. And she was there located at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
And she recommended, like I say, a number of supplements and changing our diet, which was, we didn't realize how important diet was to the whole process. And so we changed our diet. We started using the supplements. My PSA went from 4,400 down to normal by December of that year.
Excuse me, what would be the PSA? Excuse me, my ignorance.
Uh, PSA is an indicator or marker of what's going on in your body as far as with prostate cancer. It's prostate serum antigen. I believe that's what PSA stands for. And the normal range for PSA in men is 0 to 4. So if it's in within that range, then it's normal. But when it starts getting higher and higher, that means there's a greater potentiality that you have cancer going on in your body somewhere. And my husband's PSA was 4,400. So when the doctor
Oh,
sat down and told me that his PSA was in 4,400, he said that's very, very high and not good.
okay, now I understand. And after some months, what was the PSA?
Yeah, after we went back to get our PSA drawn and tested in they started in April, and in June we went back to have our PSA tested. It was down to 69, and then in December of 2009 it was back down to normal. Okay.
So it was like 1 year, and
Mm-hmm.
it
Almost.
was.
Yeah.
Well, almost a year. Yeah, from April to December.
And you
Okay.
took vitamins and supplements, right?
Vitamin and supplements.
And we changed our diet. He began learning how to relax. He began taking Tai Chi classes uh, to learn how to relax because he was a military officer and he never learned how to relax. So he had to learn how to relax, let things go. Um, we learned how to laugh more. We stopped stressing out about things. Stopped watching negative TV. Um, so anything that caused us to be, stressed out or negative, we just had to get out of our lives.
I see
Surround
what you
yourself with positive people, positive things. So all of that
you you
works.
turned off cancer TV, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to, learn how to get all the negative influences out of your life.
See what
Learn
you
how
mean.
to forgive yourself, forgive anybody else you may have any um, a heartache with. Just let all the negativity out of your life.
Fantastic. It's
Yeah.
so interesting that you are mentioning this, because there is the diet that we eat, but
Yes.
but there is another diet that we see and we hear, and all
Yes.
these things coming in
Yeah.
right in your
Yeah.
mind and your
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And
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 and what Tai Chi was able to do was able to teach me again how to relax, how to calm down, how to put things in perspective. We often forget in this busy life that the only thing when it really boils down to it, the most important thing is your health. And we forget about our health because we're so busy in our day-to-day lives and making a living that we forget about our health. And doing Tai Chi now has really taught me how to breathe, and that was really important. And I didn't really understand how important that was, but when you learn how to breathe, you get more oxygen into your body, and by doing so, you kill off a lot of the things that would harm you
right,
because you're learning how to relax. The body is adjusting to that. Stress, whether we realize it or not, when we're watching television or when we're driving or when we're having difficult conversations with people, all of those kinds of things build up. Okay, and we don't think about them as being important, but they're very important. And that's why we have to learn how to relax. We have to learn how to laugh. We have to, again, surround ourselves with positive people. And again, being able to do that helps tremendously.
and what kind of vitamins and supplements did you take, Ray?
We went through a number of them. We still take a lot of them. You want to go through that?
He was on, of course, vitamin C, vitamin E. He's had a high potency multivitamin. We took alpha lipoic acid because that is a supplement which recycles vitamins C and E in your body. Um, let's see, what else did he take? Were you taking at the time curcumin?
Yeah, I'm taking
You was taking curcumin at the time. Uh,
MCP.
MCP, modified citrus pectin, which helps to slow down and retard the growth of cancer and promote the growth of new cells. What else were you taking? Oh,
At that time.
yeah.
Oh, grape seed,
Oh, yeah. We took grapeseed
green tea.
extract, green tea extract. We did take a calcium tablet also as well. Let's see.
But we had to back off the calcium.
So those were like a lot of the main things that he was taking that helped him.
And did you also change something else in your diet? I mean, what kind of diet were you eating?
Went to vegetarian.
We were eating the typical American diet, at the time, because we didn't know any better. Even though I'm a nurse, they don't teach you too much about nutrition, even in nursing school. And my husband was a junk food junkie. He loved potato chips, ice cream. He loved all that stuff, So we had all that in our house, so we had to get rid of that. In fact, one of the nutritionists at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America told us that, prostate cancer is a disease of nutrition. And so when she told me that, I said, aha, so if I change the nutrition, I might change the disease. And so that clicked and rang a clear bell with me. And so we began to change our diet. We got rid of all the white flour, white rice, white sugar. We got rid of all that stuff, and started researching how to eat more of a natural whole grain and more raw foods, more fruits and vegetables in our diet. So it was difficult. It was a difficult transition for us, but we made it, and it's still a journey. So we basically have a vegetarian diet now, but we do incorporate a lot more raw foods in it than we ever did before.
And did you make that transition during 2009?
Yes, we had to. It was a matter of life or death.
I see what you mean. So you took the supplements, the vitamins, and went raw.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't completely raw. We were, I would say, at least 60 to 70% raw. And the rest of it was like cooked veggies and stuff, cooked veggies and whole grains. So that change really helped us clean up himself internally, and gave him the nutrition he needed to fight the cancer.
And did the cancer come back sometime later? Or?
Yes, it did. The next year, we had found that it was coming back, and it came back with a vengeance almost. When we
Next year.
No, not the previous.
Just last year.
Well, this year. I'm sorry, it came
Last
back
year.
this year. Last year?
Yeah, that's when I was down.
That's 2010. Yes. No,
2011.
2011. It came back in almost the same time, April. Almost the same time, didn't it?
It didn't really come back until June.
June? Okay. June 2011 is when it came back. And it was even higher at the time. And he was in a really, really bad state. He had lost over 50 pounds. He almost looked like a skeleton with skin hanging off his bones. That's just how bad he looked. And he was in a lot of pain because it went to his bones, migrated to his bones, and he was just in so much pain. And his instructor in Tai Chi would help him with breathing so he could sleep at night, because he was in so much pain he couldn't sleep. And we tried at that time, since he's a veteran, to go to the VA to see what they would do, but they didn't really offer much help. They wanted to put him just on medication again until, just to alleviate pain and everything. Again, the same treatments, chemo or radiation, but I knew in his current state, if he did that, he'd just check out, So
We do some hormonal.
yeah, we did do hormonal therapy at the time because we needed like a bridge. We did the Lupron just to help maybe reduce it. And then
Testosterone.
yeah, to lower testosterone. So we went to a integrative medicine doctor then, okay, because it's a doctor who's trained and board certified in the U.S., but he is more focused on prevention. And these doctors think differently from the traditional doctors in that doctor that I was using or that we were using is trained in the Eastern medicines, uh, the herbs, and also the diet therapy. So we went there with him. But I must say, in the meantime, before we went to him, I was investigating on the internet of something that I could possibly use to help him because he was not in good shape. And we found a supplement that he could probably use called MMS. And I spoke to some naturopaths about that who had heard about that, and they said it was they had new people who had used it and they had good results from it. And what this MMS did for him within a portion of 48 hours, 48 to 72 hours, was reduce his pain level from a high of 10 to down to like 2 or 3 because he was in so much pain. And that gave him relief so he could sleep at night. Uh, so he began to get on the mend. But I must tell you that he's going to tell you too that he had a private talk with God at one point in his life when he says death came to visit him and he had to tell death to go away because death came to pay him a visit. So I'm going to let him tell you about that. That's something he told me about later on, but I'm going to let him tell you about his talk with death.
Okay,
What
please
what
do it.
what is interesting about that is the fact that at that particular time, I was in a place where I could not walk, I could not eat, I could not sleep. Every bone in my body ached. There was no comfortable position. I couldn't lay on my back, on my side, or anything. The pain was just excruciating. They talk about pain of childbirth. I don't know anything about that, but I can tell you when every member of your body is hurting and there is no comfort because you can't sleep, you can't eat, it is, and you can't walk. And at that point in time, I was incapacitated. I could not walk, and so it was very, very strange. But and my family at that point in time, this was in, I want to say, July of last year. Normally didn't leave me alone, but that particular day they did. And one thing that I can tell you, and people need to understand this: you cannot be afraid of cancer. When that diagnosis is given, you cannot be afraid of it. Cancer feeds on fear. Now, it may not make any sense to anybody, but cancer feeds on fear because if you're afraid, then your body produces adrenaline. That cancer feeds on it, and it will literally eat you up. It will literally kill you. So you must understand that it is a disease that you can live with. Even the worst case, you can live with it. And what it really teaches you is that it teaches you who you are as a person. Number one, when I say I had my conversation with death, I was, like I say, I was laying down, I was home alone, and it was as if death was saying, "I can relieve your pain. You've been a good husband, a good father. You've had a good military career. They will miss you, but they will go on. But I can relieve your pain, and I can do it immediately." And I said no, and as soon as I finished saying that, it was as if a voice was in the room and says, "Leave him alone." Now,
Oh,
I got to tell you,
so beautiful to hear
yeah,
this.
I got to tell you, you know, my pain didn't go away. I was still hurting, and all of this, but it just said, "Leave him alone." And at that point in time, I knew that I was going to be all right. I knew I was going to be all right anyway. But after that, it was like, okay, now you got to get up. And I was able then to crawl to the bathroom because I couldn't walk. And like I said, no one was here to help me. And that was the first time I was able to do that in almost almost a month that I was able to start crawling. Now, like I say, my pain didn't go away. Nothing really changed. The only thing changed was the fact that I knew that I was going to survive. I knew that I was going to live through this, and this was not my end. This was not, like I say, my final chapter, if you will. And so from that point on, I started getting stronger, and I started to be able to hold things down. Not a lot, but it was starting to change. And I got to tell you, my doctors didn't expect to see me. They set me up an appointment. I went to see them in August because I couldn't get out of the house in July, and I got to the point where I could at least get up and start walking around without assistance, because before, like so my family would help me get up and help me lay down and all of this. Um, and my doctors gave me an appointment for December of last year. And when I showed up, they were surprised. You know, it was like almost like, "What are you doing here?" And what was interesting about that is, like I say, my PSA had gone from 7,700 at that time, because that's what they read it at, 7,700, down to, I want to say, 60 something. And then the next time I went to him, which was this year in March, it was down to 6. Okay, so it started going down. And I had a CAT scan and a bone scan this past week, and they didn't find any cancer in my bones.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you, thank you. And they were
It's like
surprised.
it's like being born again, right?
Yes,
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 yes.
yeah. And they were surprised. They were like, whatever you're doing, continue to do that, because what we have, they can't do that. And they realized we're doing something that they didn't help with, because the stuff that they gave me, we weren't using. Now, I will tell you, as we changed our diet, one of the things we did do was start making bone soup.
Bone soup. What's
Bone soup,
this?
okay? And my Tai Chi instructor was telling me about bone soup. And when I tell people that, they say, "Well, what are you talking about?" What you do is go to the market, and they
Hmm.
have organically fed beef or buffalo, or what is it?
You
Yeah,
can use chicken bones
you
too.
can you could
Yeah.
also use chicken bones. They're organically fed. Buy the bones, and they're called soup bones.
Yeah, soup bones,
But they need to
marrow
be
soup bones.
marrow soup bones. They need to be organic or naturally fed. You boil those bones for 18 hours. Okay? You
18
boil those
hours.
bones for
Yeah,
18 hours.
that's to leach out all the minerals.
That's to get all the minerals, all the marrow, everything out of those bones. And then you put vegetables in there.
Season it.
You season it. You put vegetables in there. You put rice in there. You put corn. I mean, any kind of vegetable you
Or
like.
root vegetable.
Root vegetables,
Yeah.
potatoes, and all of that. Put it in there, and that's what I was starting to eat. What that does naturally is strengthen the bones. Okay,
Oh,
Hmm.
and that was one of the critical, because, like I say, I was so frail. I needed something to get into my system, and this was a way of doing that by having that bone soup, which he recommended, and I never heard of it before. It was very, very effective.
Yes, yes. Also, the integrative medicine doctors had recommended that as well, bone soup. And he put Rayford on mushroom therapy, medicinal mushrooms. And because he checked over all the things we were taking, he just streamlined it a little bit and increased and added some mushroom therapy to it, mushroom extracts, and all of that, you know, helped to shrink those tumors and remove the cancers from his bones. And again, it was like within 6 months, everything was just cleared up just about. So there are other things and other ways out there to cure cancer or treat it, even in like worst cases like his. Um, but most doctors don't know about that.
the 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 worst moment was in July
July,
2011.
July and August.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, then I got it right. Okay,
Yeah.
and then 6 months later, it was like
6.
In
From
the
yeah,
from
so
7,700 to 6.
from
so
7,700 to 6.
oh, that's cool, so cool. In the beginning of 2012, you were okay, right?
The beginning of 2012, you were okay. Yeah, he was on the mend. The PSA was going down. He had gained his weight back. He was able to move around. He began to drive the car again because he couldn't even drive the car. He couldn't sit. He couldn't stand. He couldn't lay down. He couldn't do anything. It was just um,
But you are okay since the beginning of 2012. Then it's 1 year and a half
Hmm.
fine. And
Right.
mhm.
okay, that's and I see that you
Yes.
gained some weight. You are looking great.
Well, I tell you what, I feel great as well. I went back to the gym and started working out again. Actually, uh, I'm up to a couple of miles now that I can run. And like I said,
Oh,
I couldn't walk last year, so I'm up to running, and so I'm feeling real great. I'm sure there's some other work that needs to be done that we've got to finish up, but I would tell anybody is that number one, like I said, you can't be afraid of it. Secondly, the body will not betray you. If you put the right stuff in it, it will respond. Your body will heal itself. Okay, but
Mhm.
you have got to do what you have to do, and you got to understand the pain that you're going through. If you're at that stage, it is it's a preliminary stage that you got to say, well, I've got to do something drastic, and that drastic is changing that diet, understanding how to relax. Try to find someone who teaches Tai Chi or knows Tai Chi, and you become a part of that group because the mind, and that was another thing, we don't really understand how powerful our minds are because we've
Mhm.
gotten away from that. Remember before, I guess most people don't. Before modern medicine, people were never diagnosed with these kind of diseases because it just does not exist. But nowadays, we're so dependent on outside things. For example, we're looking at chemo and we're looking at
Radiation
radiation treatments and those kinds of things.
as
But
the answer. Mhm.
as an answer, but the John Hopkins University did a study, and they said that more people die from the treatment of cancer than from the disease.
Mhm.
incredible.
Okay. And so that ought to say something to us as a people, as a group of folks that understand, well, if that's the case, then there's got to be some alternatives out there. And I got to tell you, there are a number of plans out there. There are a number of folks in the industry that can help and will help. But as a society, we've got to understand that chemo and radiation are not the end all be all to the treatment of this disease. And one of the things, and I will tell you how powerful the mind is. I had a cousin who was diagnosed with colon cancer. Her
Right.
doctor told her she had 30 days to live. She
30
died on the
days.
30th day.
Oh, she believed it.
She
Yes.
believed it.
Yes.
She believed it. And we have to be careful. And because my doctor said basically the same thing, you know what I'm saying? But my position was, and I guess it was probably a good one because I needed to hear that. But my position was, you were not here during my conception or birth. You will not determine when I die. You don't have that kind of power. And so we have to understand that. We have to take responsibility for our lives. And we have to say, given everything that we have and everything that we know, if you can't help me, then there's got to be a solution. Because, see, I believe in a situation where we don't have problems, we have situations. A problem indicates that there's no solution. When you're in a situation, there's always a solution. And that's where we are with cancer. There's always a solution, but you've got to have the courage enough
To
to
go look
go
for it.
out and look for it
Mhm.
and find it and decide. When I was telling you about my conversation with death, one of the things
Right.
that happened to me, which was very, very interesting, and as I explained to a lot of people, I said, um, we have to decide. Okay, we have to decide if we're going to live or we're going to die. And we have to be careful. If we say, you know, we're ready to go, and we will go, we will be gone. Okay, so just understand that we have a decision to make. I'm often reminded of what happened, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in the book of Job, uh, if you remember the book of Job, where God said, "Have you considered my servant Job?" And so the devil had to get permission from God to deal with Job. He does the same thing for each of us. He
Right.
gets permission, and then we give him permission either to take us or that we're going to stay and fight. So we have to be careful as a society, as a group of people, that we don't fall into that "I'm ready to go" thing. Because if you are, hey buddy, just hang on. It won't be long.
And one sentence that you said that I really loved it is cancer feeds on fear.
Yes, it does. And you cannot
Yeah.
be afraid. I don't
You
care.
know, this reminds me about that situation with Angelina Jolie having her breasts cut
Remove, yes.
because she was afraid of having cancer.
Yeah.
And what would you say about that? Because I really think that many, many, many women got a lot of fear inside of them because of that new in the newspapers and so on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's you're absolutely right. Many women are afraid of that, and they are basically, I'm sure the doctors allow them to make their own decision, but then they go by what information that they have on hand. And most information that they have on hand is get your breast removed. Especially if it's something that can be prevented. Oh, you don't want breast cancer that runs in your family, get your breast removed. But what I've been learning, especially through my school that I'm going through and listening to the different instructors, is that genetics is fluid. It doesn't mean that if your mama have it that you're going to necessarily have it. It
Right,
doesn't mean that that gene's going to be turned on. If you eat a well balanced vegetarian vegan type diet, don't pollute yourself with all those chemicals, preservatives, and all that other stuff that just clog up your system. It doesn't mean you're going to get it.
right,
We don't know that. We don't know how to eat. We've forgotten actually how to eat, because back in the day with our grandparents and their parents, we ate, from the land, and I just can't believe that we had this much cancer back then, and indeed we didn't. As we got more modernized and industrialized, then our foods began to get more processed and manufactured, and chemicals and all this other stuff was added into the foods, and then we began to kill ourselves with what we were eating, for convenience. And so modernization has taken over our food, and it's killing us, and we don't know it. So we've got to be re-educated back into more natural foods. And so that's what, people don't know about their genetics. Just because your mama or your grandmama or your sister had it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. So,
yeah, especially because one thing that many people don't know it's that the first cases of cancer appeared in the end of the 19th century.
mhm,
So it's brand new, it's
mhm.
something that's happening a little more than 100 years.
Yeah.
It's a disease of modernization.
That's right, you are completely right. And what is your diet now? What's happening with your diet now? Are you still eating bone soup?
Yes, we have bone soup at least once. When we make a pot, we make a big pot, and so we basically have it almost the whole week. So I said, well, let's have it like once every 2 weeks. We'll make a pot, because otherwise we'll be eating bone soup 24/7, and you get kind of sick of it after a while. So once every 2 weeks we'll make a big pot, and we'll probably live off that for a week. But we have, but we do eat lots of salads. Fill it up with lots of veggies. We do have raw veggie, not raw juices, and smoothies every day. We eat fruits and veggies. We have whole grains, quinoa, aramis. We eat those different grains, and we eat the black rice. So we're just trying to do more of a vegetarian diet, but we do have like the raw stuff that's in it as well. Um, Now that I'm back to work, because I was off work 5 weeks last year to help take care of Rayford, you know, and he's retired, so he does do most of the cooking now. So he makes sure that I have to tell him, I say, you got to make sure you eat and take care of yourself while I'm going at work. So he does, make sure he has. We need the Ezekiel bread if he wants to make him a little sandwich. So he makes the Ezekiel bread with either some natural peanut butter or some a natural sweetener like a agave, a little raw honey or whatever. So he does take care of himself while I'm gone. And then he'll just make us something like last night. We just had some we made like a little stir fry with some uh, was it black
Wild
rice,
rice.
wild rice. We had wild rice with some veggies in it. And then on another night we'll have like a big giant salad with all filled with all kinds of vegetables and stuff. We do eat a lot of kale, and we
A lot
do
of beets.
eat a lot of kale, a lot of beets, and we incorporate carrots also into our diet as well, and we make juices out of those as well. So that's basically kind of what we do. We still kind of experimenting with different recipes for salads and vegetables, so we can make it lots more interesting. But that's basically what our diet is right now. I would say a high vegetarian with a lot with maybe 20 to 40%, raw foods and juices that we're adding into it.
20 to 40%. Okay.
Yes, right now, yeah.
I was
Uh,
going to ask that.
mhm.
Okay.
You
And what about your family? Did you get family support? Did they help? What happened?
well, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I did not. When you say my family, my kids were involved simply because they were home from school and that sort of thing. As far as my family, I did
Extended family or
extended family,
mhm.
like my sisters and brothers and all of those people. I didn't get any of those people involved. Okay, and the reason is because I'm going to say this delicately. Um, they will call you to death, if that makes any sense, because you're constantly on the phone talking to them. How are you doing? And all of this. You
I
you
see what you mean.
can't do that. You can't have people calling you every day asking you the same question. So I
I,
didn't get them involved at all. I
I
let them
understand.
know after after we were out of the valley, and on the ascent, then I let them know what was going on. But while we were going through it, it was a conscious effort not to call them, not to let them know, because that would have been followed by conversation after conversation after conversation. And what you don't need when you're going through that is have to talk to a lot of people to explain to them what is going on, and you're not entirely sure, other than what your diagnosis has been. And so to not get them involved was the best decision we made, because it didn't require me to think about what they're talking about and then try to assure them that I'm going to be all right and all of this. That is something that, if you're going through this, you remember the 23rd song, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil."
Yes.
That when you're going through that valley, you don't need all the spectators. You don't need all these guys, asking questions and talking. You don't
I
need that.
see what you mean.
You need that valley experience. And when you go through that valley experience, then you can talk to them about what you've gone through. Because I got to tell you, when when we were first diagnosed, again, I didn't tell my family. It wasn't until actually my dad died at his funeral, and when I shared with them what had happened, and they were all, just caught off guard. And first of all, everybody was saying, "Well, how do you survive stage 4?" I can talk to them about that now, but when I was going through it, I couldn't talk to them because they wouldn't understand. And anybody that's being diagnosed, you asked a question earlier, you know, women when they first hear about it, you know, first thing they do is get, you know, the breast taken off and that sort of thing. Uh, that fear, and we have a different wiring mechanism, men and women, obviously, for obvious reasons. And it's hard to say not be afraid, but I can say that now, and I can say that and understand if you are afraid of this, and it will kill you, and you need to understand that. So you have to understand whatever stage you're in, as long as you're alive, there's hope, there's an opportunity, and you can make it. If anybody can survive it, you can. And so when I get a chance to talk to people, I try to make them understand. You know, fear is what I'm trying to remember the acronym. Something about false illusions appearing real or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
I see.
That
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
okay? And so if you understand that's what it is, then you can say, okay, all right, what's next? Whatever's next, that's what we're going to do. What is the alternative? Because there are alternatives. And that's what we often lose sight of,
That they're alternative.
that there are alternatives. Because when our doctor says something, it's sacrosanct. You know, I mean, if that's what happened to my cousin. I was trying to explain to her, if you come off that radiation, you know, and if you, because the radiation and the chemo destroys the body to the degree that it can't recover. That's why it's very important, if you're on that and you want to start a natural program, you've got to come off of that. You've got to get that stuff out of your system, because it will kill you. The body is not designed to be radiated and to be, chemoed to death. And that's really what's happening. While it
And
kills the
you,
bad cells, it kills the good cells too.
and if you go to the hospital to do this kind of treatment, you are really fearing, right?
You
Yes.
are. You're
Yes.
fearing, and the doctors know you're fearing, and they know that you rely exactly on them to make their decision for them. And that's what most people do. They're very highly educated, but they're trained in that certain mode. That's the only way they know, and so that's the only thing they know to tell people about. And if you go
So,
and if you deviate from the path, then they put the fear of God in you that, oh no, no, you can't do that. That's not the right thing to do. This is what we normally do. Because even when we went to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, they did not want us to really go with the natural path. Their main method and the main things they push is the traditional methods. They say they do offer alternatives, and they do. They have it there as a little carrot, but the main thing they offer and push is the chemo and radiation.
And I will say that anybody that's listening or watching, I'm not telling you to not do what your doctor prescribes. All I'm saying to you is that look at some alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Cancer Treatment Center of America, they did the best they could with what they knew and understood. They had some alternatives that was more appealing to us, and that's what we did. And most hospitals now will talk to you about alternatives, but they don't push them because they haven't been validated through the quote unquote medical community. So you have to understand that the people that are working with you are telling you the best they can of what they know. And I will say to you, make sure you understand, they don't know it all.
That's right. They don't know it all.
They don't know it all.
right.
Knowledge is too vast for any one man to know it all. So you have to say, okay, uh, this is what happens traditionally. What are the alternatives? And look at those alternatives, and find something that works for you. Now, what we went through may not work for other people,
Right.
and I can't say that it will. All I can say is that it worked for me. Okay, that's my testimony. And I'm not putting any hospital down, any doctor down, any clinic down, or anything like that. I'm saying that there are alternatives, and as a society, we need to look for those, because they're out there. They're out there, and people are living every day through these kinds of things. And we've just got to decide. If you You got to decide if you want to live or you want to die. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and one thing that I think that you are showing here that, well, I think that it could apply to everyone, in this kind of situation, is exactly your attitude. The way you are saying that you should face your fear and you shouldn't be afraid of this situation, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I think
yes. Absolutely, yes.
absolutely.
this is something that would apply to any situation
Hmm.
because this would be universal, right?
Yes,
To
exactly,
Hmm.
everyone. Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
And I tell you what, it has been a tremendous journey. I will tell you, uh, I'm a better person because of it. You know, and now when people start to talk about, what they believe and what they understand and what they trust and what they know, I will tell you that your body is wonderfully designed and made, and it can overcome anything, but it starts in your mind, and it's what
Right.
you believe. If you
Hmm.
believe that you can be healed, then you can and you will be. But on the other hand, if you believe that you won't or you can't,
Hmm.
then you basically seal your own fate because it's what you believe. And it's so
I
very,
see.
very important. The mind is such a tremendous mechanism for our good, but we don't use it. We let other people make our decisions, and we go with those decisions rather than saying, okay, what's best for me? And I will tell you, and it's just I, this is a delicate part of what I want to share with you. Um, but people make their living on treatment as opposed to healing.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, I know what
we
you
have
mean.
to be cognizant of that.
Hmm.
We have to. That's a very, very important factor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Understand that you know treatment is,
A multi-billion-dollar industry.
yeah, and healing not that
Yes.
much in there. And
Yeah,
so my
yeah, yeah.
objective is to be healed of this, utterly, totally, and completely. And we're on the way back. So
W-
I just say that because, like I say, it's delicate. I know it. I understand it, and people need to understand that's where a lot of people are.
Healthy people don't give money
That's right. You
away.
don't, you don't,
Right.
you don't make money off of healthy people.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's
So
Yeah.
right. And
One other
people,
thing that I really think it is interesting to mention here is your decision not to have your family calling you all the time because when we hear and think about cancer, people in general, they are really afraid of it, right? I
yes.
think people calling you would be like feeding the fear, right?
yeah,
Yes, that would be.
exactly.
Yes. Feeling
I
sorry for you,
understand what you mean.
wondering, crying and everything, and wondering,
Right,
yeah, all that. You don't need all that stuff. They could, open the door for you and kick you out, not meaning to, but with their boohoo and sorrow and feeling bad, they're just bringing on more and more negativity, and you don't need that.
I
sure.
know my Tai Chi instructor was saying that he had a situation where the young man that came to him, or this person that came to him, and he was trying to tell him, yeah, we can work with this. There's some things we can do, and all of this. And then his family got together and basically had his funeral before his death. Everybody came in, flew in, and all of this sort of thing. And they felt so sorry for him. He was almost obliged to, well, they're all here. They all give me a send off, and he died. Not to
Oh,
disappoint
yeah,
them.
really?
Yeah, you know.
That's incredible.
But it was the mind.
I
The
see.
mind. He bought into what everybody was doing. That's why. Well, I didn't know about this until after, he started working with me. But I told him, my family doesn't know about this and why. And he said, well, that's good. And he started to explain to me. And I said, I never really thought about it from that standpoint. But the mind is so powerful. It is so powerful that we forget that, what we think becomes a thing. Okay? It becomes our
Mhm.
reality. And so we have to change the way we think. We have to change our reality. We have to understand that there's nothing down here that we can't overcome if we want to overcome it bad enough. I don't care what it is. I don't care how bad it is. And see, in the military, I was, for almost 20 years, I was always in life-threatening positions. I mean, we did things, we were on the edge, but I decided to do those things. This thing was nothing I decided, okay? But it was nonetheless real because it had life-threatening implications. So what I
Right.
had to remember was that, okay, I've been through X, Y, and Z. Then we're going to overcome this as well. We're going to be able to do this. Um, and so we set about doing that, and it's been, like I say, it's been an exciting journey. It continues to be that way. But I got to tell people, that you can overcome this. But you've got to believe it. I can share with you my story and everything that's going on, but you got to believe it for yourself. And once you believe it, once you decide, well, I'm going to be healed from this, then actively go out and start saying, okay, what can I do? What do I need to change? Do I need to change? And that was because that was something interesting for us. We never understood it was linked to nutrition. Never understood that, you know. And so, we started to eat more, vegan. We started to do those kinds of things, and all of those things help with the digestive process and all of those being, because we went through a detox
Hmm.
thing where we got rid of everything out of the body, and that was another thing that we never understood. And that's why they say, we need to go vegan, because when you're eating a lot of meats, it takes, for example, if you have a steak, it'll take you, for your body to digest, 2 to 3 days to digest that steak. But in two to
Right.
three days look at all the food that you've eaten. Okay. So
Yes.
it's just being packed on. And what it starts to do in the colon is just that. It starts to fester and all of that. And then here we go. But by going more vegan, now we have fish every now and then. I think we're at a point where we might have a piece of fish. My wife says once a month. You know, that's our treat. You know, and chicken even less than that. Probably, I don't know the last time I had a piece of chicken. Um, But again, just simple things that if you think about them just make sense, but we don't do them because we're so tied up in this workaday world, and we want things that's quick and convenient as opposed to, eating what we should eat. We were in the Middle East, and they used to shop every day, and we thought they were behind the times. And what we found out, they were really more eating better than we were.
Right.
Because we had freezers and all this kind of stuff. But they were getting fresh fruits and fresh vegetables every day.
Hmm.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And that's what we needed to do and didn't realize it. In most industrial countries, people don't realize how important that is. But like I said, we were in the Middle East and we saw it. And also, we were down in Central America,
Yeah.
in Panama. We saw the same thing. People were getting their stuff every day because they didn't have refrigerators.
Right.
Middle East had them, but people in Central America, in Panama specifically, didn't have a lot of refrigeration because they just didn't have it, and everything grew there. So and so when we got back and start to understand, our diet was a major part of what we were going through. Then if that's what I need to do, I can fix this. There is a solution,
Hmm.
Right.
but we don't think about it. Okay. And so that's why we wind up in so much trouble. And I'm not saying if you're eating meat, to stop eating. Anything that you do in moderation is what I'm learning through this. If you're going to have a steak, okay, that's fine, but don't do it every day. You know,
Yeah.
don't do it every day. If you're gonna, just don't do it all. But like I say, if you do it in moderation, meat is fine. And I will be the first to tell you. When I smell ribs, I'm still like, hey, I still like to have a piece every now and then. But I'm backing off of that. I will tell you though, for the fourth, I did taste some ribs. Okay, so
Really?
4th of July.
Fourth of July.
Oh,
That's my quota for the
Our
year.
holiday.
4th
Yeah,
of
that's my
July.
quota for the year.
So it's not so far.
Yeah.
And how old are you, Ray?
59.
59. And you are starting your life now. What are your plans for the future?
Well, my plan is I want to get back up to where I was running again. I used to run 20 miles a day. I want to get back to where I'm doing it. By year's end, I want to get back into at least 5 miles a day and kind of build back up. And that's really kind of where I am. Like I say, I was able to run a couple of miles the other day, so I got to get to the point where I'm consistent at 5 miles, and then I want to go back up to 20. Uh, but that within the next 6 to 8 months, I want to have my 5 miles down consistently, and then pick up, and go to 10 and that sort of thing. So that's where I want to go. That's what I'm working on.
Fantastic. So Athena, if someday you arrive at home and you don't find Ray,
He'll
maybe
be out
he's
running.
running all over America, right?
Yes. Yes,
Like
he said he'd like to run a marathon. I mean, I would like to run one with him. It would just be like a goal, and to show the world that yeah, this man's stage 4 prostate cancer, near death's door, and now he's ran a marathon. So yeah,
fantastic.
that would be great.
Maybe he will be like Forrest Gump, right? Running all over.
All across the country. I don't know about that, but that would be a challenge, no question about it.
Yeah, you know there is this couple in Australia. They are running one marathon a day. It's so
One marathon a day,
incredible.
that's great.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe you can do that. I
Oh,
can
I'd
see
love to
that.
get to that point. I'd love to get to that point.
Yeah, and maybe run barefoot and well, the sky is the limit, right? For
Yeah,
you
sky's the
now.
limit. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I can see the power that you got from this whole situation, and you are strong now. So fantastic.
Very much
Yes.
so. Very
Yes.
much so.
And what would how would people contact you if they want to reach you to get more information, maybe
Okay.
help from you?
Okay, they could reach me several ways. I have a website at www.thenutritionfactor.com. They could email me at athena@thenutritionfactor.com, or abluehealthcoach@gmail.com as well.
And we also got
Okay.
website.
And you are a health coach, Tina, and
Yes,
you are
I'm a health coach. My
very
sport,
well prepared to help anyone with this kind of situation.
going through this, yes, I can help talk to people about that. Give them guidance as to their various options. If they're interested in integrative medicine doctor, I can help them find one in their area. Um, if they're interested in going on changing their diet, I can help them with that. And I could be someone that they can come and talk to just gain some encouragement, because you need to be around positive people and not negative people. You need uplifting during this time, and not to be boohooed and cried over and felt sorry for. You need somebody that's going to be on your team and be your cheerleader.
Right. And would you be willing to meet people like this through the
Yes,
internet?
absolutely. Through the internet, Skype. I have an iPhone. We can do FaceTime, or just talk on the telephone. Or if they live in my area, I'm very willing to come out and talk to people or meet them somewhere.
Fantastic. Well, I really loved talking to you today, and I learned so much. I'm sure that people who will watch this interview will be blessed hearing you.
We hope so.
Yeah,
The story
it's
needs to go out. People need to know more and more about the alternatives, and don't sell themselves short and think that radiation and chemo is the only way to go. It's not. There are other things out there. You do research. Never take no for an answer. When the doctor told Ray that there was nothing he could do, that made me mad. I didn't want anybody telling my husband when he was going to die, and that just actually freed us up to find other answers. So we said, because when we came out there, I said, well, what do you think of what he said? He says, I'm not going with that. I said, neither am I. I said, let's go talk to this naturopath and see what she can do. So you never take no for an answer. If somebody says, okay, there's nothing I can do for you, you say, fine, I'm going to find somebody else who can. You
That's
know,
that was the best thing that could have happened to us. When they said that there was nothing they could do, that was the best thing that could have, because
yeah, because if they
it
did
working on
say, well, let's do this, you'd go that direction, right?
exactly, exactly. So that was the best thing that could have happened. They don't realize that, and so when I think about that now, I tell everybody, if they say there's nothing they can do, you're in good shape. You have
Yeah,
a chance, okay? But if they can do something, you have a problem.
yeah,
And I
I
mean
see
that
what you mean.
literally. If they can do something, you have a problem. But if they say, hey, there's nothing we can do, okay, then I got this.
One thing that really impresses me about you as a family here is that every time I was talking about your prostate cancer, Ray, you were answering me as a family, right? We did that, and so on and so on. What was your diet? Well, our diet was that, and so fantastic. You are a fantastic family as well, and I think this situation brought you even more together,
Oh,
right?
yes.
oh yes, it did.
Yes.
We couldn't do this just with changing his diet. It had to be an entire family diet. Of course, my youngest son wasn't too happy about it, but he kind of got used to it. And so even now, though, while he's away at school, he's doing better about eating a better diet for himself. So he did learn some things. So it was a family. If we were going to make a transition, it was a family transition, not just a one person transition.
And that's important too, because people need to understand that immediate family needs to make that transition too, because it's going to help them in the long run. And once you start seeing the difference, you'll start even feeling the difference in the way you eat. You won't feel as bloated. Sometimes when you finish a meal, how you just feel bloated, how you feel heavy.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
when you're eating a vegetarian diet or something like that, you don't feel that. you
Right.
and it makes a difference because the digestive system is changing. The body is saying, okay, I've got something I can work with. And like I say, the body is such a beautiful design, for lack of a better word, machine, that it responds to us, and it will not do anything that will hurt itself. And we have to remember that. you know this is a journey, and it's not just for the person going through it. And I think people need to understand that. While it happened to me, I was glad it happened to me and not my wife or my kids, because I wouldn't know how to handle that. Okay. But because it happened to me, I was comfortable that I was going to be all right. And I was not afraid of it. And so now, but it showed them this is how you go through a trial. Okay. When you think you got something that's tough in life, and you can see somebody who was at death's door and said, no, what are you going through that's greater than that? So it makes everybody else put things in perspective and
Right.
understand that they can overcome this. Whatever trial and tribulation you have going on, whatever it is, you can overcome that because you've been witness to what it looks like. I mean, like I said, my doctors gave up. They said there was nothing we can do, and my kids saw, what we were going through, and never did they hear me say, "Why is this happening to me?" Because I got to tell you, man, it goes back to what one of the things my mother told me a long time ago. I was one of the star football players on our football team in high school. I got my ankle injured, and I was complaining to my mother. I said, well, why did God let this happen to the star? And she said, where is it written that you will not have trials and tribulation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And
Right.
so with this, it was the same thing. Where is it written? See, because it's not just for me, it's for those people around me to understand that if I can come through this, whatever you got going on in your life, you can overcome that. You can live through that. And you're going to be better because of that. But each individual, as long as you live, will have trials and
Mm-hmm.
tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's a
right.
given. If you're born, you're going to have them. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what your standard of living is. You will go through one of these situations. And how you go through it is a testament of where you are in your journey and where you're going. And
Right.
how
But
many people can look at
if
your
you
life.
choose a better diet and a better and turn off your TV, you are much better off, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Okay.
You have
Thank you
to know
so
what
much,
to
Athena.
eat. Okay.
Thank you so much, Athena and Ray. I really loved talking to you today, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Keep running, Ray, and keep helping other people with your health coaching, Athena, and let's keep in touch. Thank you so much.
We will. Thank you so much, Louis.
And you who are watching, go now to thenutritionfactor.com and get in touch with Athena and Ray. They have something so special to tell you. I'm really excited because I talked to them today. Go there now, thenutritionfactor.com. Bye bye, Athena. Bye bye, Ray. Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye.